James William Edward Caldwell.
4 names.
4 names.
Is that after
Always gone by Bill. I grew up in a small East Texas town about 80 miles east of Dallas, Sulphur Springs, Texas. Say small, I had a population of about 12,000 people, so my family owned and operated the main funeral home, Tap Funeral Home and Furniture Store, which was my great-grandfather. Was raised in a somewhat wealthy family. It's a fairly charmed life. I had just about everything I wanted. I was, at the risk of sounding egotistical, I was class favorite, nominee every year, senior favorite my senior year. Girlfriend was most beautiful, homecoming queen. I was all-district football player, co-captain on the football team. Pretty much the golden child growing up. My mom was killed when I was 3 years old by a drunk driver. Even though my family was churchgoers, they were functional alcoholics. My dad died when I was 26 from alcoholism. So my family, wealthy and affluent as they were for the most part alcoholics. So yeah, alcohol was a real tragedy in my family. There was no marijuana in my high school. I never smoked a joint, never got involved with pot until I went off to school at North Texas State. And that was just amazing because I didn't even drink in high school, didn't smoke cigarettes, didn't drink alcohol. Was very much a kind of a
goody two-shoes.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I was. Yeah, prudish. So when I first started using marijuana, I mean, I used it a lot, don't get me wrong, recreationally, but I also used it when I would have philosophical thoughts and I would be thinking deeply about different spiritual or religious questions. It seemed to take me out of this take me into a transpersonal dimension to where, you know, it helped me think about things, or I would have more profound thinking when I was under the influence of marijuana. A pound cost probably $70 or $80, but I saw that I could break that down and make what I chose to smoke free. And then I saw, well, I can get a pound of pot and I can sell it half of it or 3/4 of it, make something to smoke, but also make more money on 1 pound of pot than I was working all week for Texas Instruments. So I saw that, you know, being kind of an entrepreneur, I guess. I thought, well, there's money to be made as well as make my stash. And that's when it started to escalate, you know, from very small amounts to, seemed like overnight, to tons. We did that for, a year or two, probably half a dozen trips, maybe 10 times. We'd go to Acapulco and fill up the trunk of a car, the back of a station wagon, or El Camino, and drive it right up to the Rio Grande River in the middle of the night. And very scary situation. There was banditos, there were robbers of all sorts, there were other smugglers, there was U.S. Customs. You know, so I got hooked on the adrenaline rush, and I mean, it was scary doing it, but you know, we did it, and so that's when I first started smuggling. But we did it mainly just to be doing it, you know, and then you got hooked on doing it. And what I'm doing is no worse than the person that sells alcohol to an alcoholic. One of my brother-in-laws was involved with a group of Mexican pot dealers out of the valley, the Moreno brothers. Anyway, he hooked me up with the Moreno brothers, and they were bringing tractor trailers covered in produce up to Dallas, anywhere from 4,000 to 10,000 pounds at a time. I think I paid $13,000 to get connected directly with Daniel Moreno. And so he started bringing me tonnage, and I developed a monstrous market at that time. But I always did just really straight business. And before I started working with the Mexican end of it, you know, I worked just with hippie guys. We never carried a gun to any pot deal. I don't care if it involved thousands of dollars worth of merchandise. If I thought I had to carry a gun to deal with you, I didn't deal with you. And we were hippies. We were peace-loving, long-haired kids that were that had gotten into a business that ended up being very lucrative. When I got busted out in '74 with a Navajo chieftain and 1,500 pounds, I really went on the run.
He's a good person. He just made bad decisions, you know. There's bad people that make bad decisions and good people that make bad decisions, and he's a good person that just repeatedly made bad decisions.
I remember our best week was 6 loads, so 6 times 2,500 is what, 15,000 pounds in 1 week. That was my career. Running, it was running an organization. Its primary function or only function was to get pot into the United States.
We had a smuggling route through the Big Bend, and we had the 60,000 acre ranch, and as soon as the Colombian government became aware of us having a 60,000 acre ranch, they were wanting to stockpile 100,000 pounds on that ranch, and they knew that I had a small Air Force that had been carrying Mexican weed into Texas and up to the East Coast, so we thought we had a route, you know, that was we could utilize from Columbia to New York City. I was sitting in Dallas, and I'm talking to Columbia, to Santa Marta, and I know that the plane, we had the DC-6 hangared in Costa Rica, protected, left Costa Rica, flew to Santa Marta International Airport, soldiers loaded it. I'm talking to the Colombians, and it starts back across Central America to northern Mexico. Well, I'm also talking to a pilot, my cousin, and Bill Miller here in town to get into the Cherokee. So when they landed on the lake bed and they taxied up, and I told them to land on the north end of the lake bed, to get out of the plane and make sure visually that there was nothing, they didn't have any heat, but they didn't. And they flew right up, literally next to a DC-6, and said, how many planes did Bill send down here today? And they said, only us. And they said, well, who's this flying over us? And they looked up. Sure enough, U.S. Customs is flying over the whole thing. Now we got a DC-6, and I don't know if you know how large a DC-6 is, but it's a huge aircraft. So you can imagine U.S. Customs agent thinking he's following a Cherokee 6 that may be doing a small smuggle. He flies over this huge 60,000 acre lake bed, and he sees down there big trucks backed up to a huge airplane unloading 25,000 pounds. Actually, the federal judge had to send a battalion of troops out there, so they take the ranch owner's son, they wrap him up in a tarp, and they spray mineral water mixed with jalapeno juice up his nose, and that's a very excruciating torture treatment. And his dad told on me and George Taylor. I started to put together another DC-7 deal, and the indictments came out, and I turned myself in and went to prison for the first time.
For the Colombian deal, I was running from the 1,500 pound failure to appear, but it was for 5 years for 25,000 pounds. That was the most you could get at that time. So I paroled out of Big Springs. Yeah, so it was El Reno, Seagerville, Big Springs. I actually went to work at the funeral home, the furniture store, for a while. More accepted with drug users, and I was even forewarned, and especially a small community. And I started hanging out with them, and consequently I had problems with cocaine. And I never used cocaine before, all during the 70s. I didn't even allow alcohol in my house. You can smoke all the pot you wanted, but no hard drugs. Leave your hard drugs in the car, and don't bring alcohol. If you want to smoke a joint, feel free to it, or any kind of psychedelic. It was all spiritual to me. I stayed away. I got so strung out, you know. I was embarrassed of my appearance, for one thing, and my behavior was so erratic, you know. So that's one reason I think Ivy has very vague memories of that time between 5 and 10.
It was hard. I mean, but I'm not gonna, I hate to say that because there's so many, my circumstances could be so much worse. My dad's the one that's suffering right now. I'm not really suffering anymore. You know, I've really, you know, forgiveness is it's a huge thing, you know, and when you can forgive somebody, it doesn't excuse their behavior, but it releases all that negative energy that I had, that I brought into every relationship I had. So
How long did
I
it
need to
take you?
pause.
Okay, sure.
I had the cocaine problem and just blew a tremendous amount of money, like I say, $250,000 or so, and then I decided I'd get back in the pot business. Well, First pilot I called was Tony Zeke, who had commanded the DC-6, and unbeknownst to me, he was working for the DEA, and he set me up.
When I was young, sit beside me.
Now I'm really fucking mad at him.
I talk to the Mexicans, and they go, well, what do you want to do now? So, well, just send me some weight. And they send me 5,000 pounds. And so it's just, and I've seen cocaine do this. The karma from cocaine devastates empires. I mean, financially and otherwise. Because I was still kind of coming off coke when I got involved in the 5,000 pound deals. I wasn't using it regularly, but my decision making was real clouded. And even I started using the I Ching more, but I wasn't listening. I was so determined to make this 5,000 pound deal work and make $1 million that even though it was telling me not to do it at that particular time, I still did it, and consequently got busted and spent 18 years in prison in Caldwell.
What was the year that you got busted for your second conviction?
89, January 11th of 1989.
And you were transporting how many pounds?
4,457 pounds. So I was going to do 5, maybe 10,000 pounds, and then get back out of business. That famous last deal.
They all have a famous last deal.
Yeah, everybody. Just my last deal. Yeah, okay, right. And some friend of mine pulled into a restaurant parking lot alongside the truck with the 4,500 pounds in it. I pulled in to scold him. Little did I know, OCU's across the highway with binoculars watching 2 Texas-plated cars converse with a truck with Indiana plates on it. 45 seconds is all it took. So we dropped our guard for 45 seconds, which I would have never done before, you know, but I dropped my guard by letting, but I was actually trying to get the Mercedes away from the truck. Get away from the truck. What are y'all doing? That's how long the conversation was. Get back in the car, get on the highway, back up off the truck, let it get on down the road. It's too late. They've already tagged us. They already saw 2 cars fall in the truck.
I hope kind of he's learned a lesson.
If you do this, it'll help you some sunny day.
These guys was telling me some stories about Bill. I go, really? How he would have fleets of planes hauling dope, tons and tons of dope, marijuana from Mexico to the United States, and distribute it in Dallas area from Madison Airport and so forth. And I'm like, yeah, right, you know. And but the more stories I heard about him, the more I became intrigued. I gotta meet this guy. I can't wait till I get to the compound. He sounded 10 feet tall to me. When I first saw Bill Caldwell, I looked past him. And I said, which guy is he? It's this guy right there. This guy right there. I went, that's Bill Caldwell? Very unassuming, nice-looking man, but not the kind of guy you would think would be, you know, ordering a multi-million-dollar illegal operation, you know. But all it took was a couple of minutes, and Bill engaged me completely. I was taken by his charisma, personality, and, you know, his intelligence. He's highly intelligent.
My reputation preceded me legally.
But Bill is such a good, genial guy. He
Yeah.
never offended me. Yeah. He just, you know, listen to everybody's stories. I've heard them 1,000 times before after 20 years in prison.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, a lot of people coming over for legal advice, too, you know, and that would, at one institution, I'd put up a little sign in the door, office hours, or from whatever to whatever.
Yeah.
No legal or psychological counseling after 8 o'clock.
you know what? I don't remember meeting everybody that didn't like Bill Caldwell. Honestly.
I
I'm just...
I can't think of anybody either.
Bill
Sure, I
didn't-
made some enemies, but I don't. Maybe it was some Mexican or something that, you know, I might have had a confrontation. So far as white guys,
Yeah.
you know, with the clique of white guys, I got along. I never really remember having a confrontation or a run-in.
Bill was a kingpin of kingpins, okay? and the federal government said so.
Yeah, it
in
was
all his
documented.
transcripts.
All
So-
the transcripts, it was pretty well documented. Everything that I allegedly was proven my documents, you know, Court of Appeals documents, my bust. I was busted with 4,457 pounds of marijuana, found to be escorting that, and my previous bust was 25,000 pounds, and the bust before that was 1,500. Those are the ones I got caught with. You know, so you can imagine the ones I got away with.
They will pass. Find yourself a woman.
So you get busted, you get convicted, and you get handed with 2 life sentences. How did that change you?
Oh, dramatically. It was, you know, I mean, my nickname became Tenacious in high school, along with other names as well, you know, but I mean in high school, in my first institution, because I consulted the I Ching. I was back on my spiritual path again, and he said I was going to win my case. But it was going to be a long, hard road, and I walked right into the law library, and I began studying the law and became one of the best law clerks in the system.
Hey, look, it's hard to overturn 1 life sentence. Bill Caldwell had 2 and overturned them.
It was scary. The first 7 years I had 2 life sentences, but I had escape attempts or plots, you know, set up just in case, you know. But once I saw that I had legal issues, and I found arguments and flaws in my proceedings, and I was getting encouraged by my use of the I Ching. Just be tenacious and persevere, and you will ultimately be free. As well, will I ever be free again? I would consult the I Ching, and it would tell me, yes, you would. And I saw legal errors I have, but you have a procedural way of doing things. You have to exhaust your remedies before you can get to another writ. And so it was just a long process, but I overturned the 2 life sentences, was resentenced to 30 years, overturned a state conviction, came back and was resentenced again, was granted an evidentiary hearing. I did some uncanny things in litigation by myself.
And be a simple kind of man. Be something.
I walked out of Jessup, Georgia after 18 years with mixed emotion, and looked over my shoulder, and my buddies were screaming and hollering, shouting. If I had tears running down my cheeks, you know, I'm thinking, man, this ought to be a happy moment. And it was, because I was going home. But at the same time, I knew that a lot of men were going to die in prison because they sold marijuana. I don't make perfect decisions. I continue to make wrong decisions, but that's what I try to point out, you know. Don't do as I did, but learn from my mistakes.
Bill's just like me and you, you know. He's a regular guy. He's got the same values and morals as me or you and anybody I've ever met in my life. He just made a wrong decision.
I just had to make a choice whether I was just going to hold on to all that and just let it ruin every relationship I had, or stunt my growth in every way, or I had to let it go. And so I have forgiven him. I mean, I'm not over what he did, and it doesn't excuse all the things, all the bad choices that he's made. And, you know, we're just starting to get to know each other. I mean, it's going to be it's a work in progress. And I look exactly like him, so we know he is my dad. I mean, I'm sad. I'll always be a little bit bitter. My heart will always be a little bit broken, but I think that now that I've forgiven him, that next step is just to try to trust him. And I don't feel like I can love him completely if I don't trust him, and I don't trust him 100%.
I realized time is precious, and so it made me more determined to rekindle that relationship that I had lost with my kids. You know, calling them every day, force them into interaction with me. You know, hey, you know, I'm on the phone. Ivy, how you doing? And I tell them, just like Tony asked me earlier, do you tell your children you love them every time you talk to them? And I do. If I make any kind of communication with my kids, the last thing they hear is, I love you.
And you mean it.
It's been a strange ride. My life has. It really has. Nothing that I ever back full circle to sitting in study hall back in 1967 wondering what I was going to do for the rest of my life. Spending half of it in prison was never even a thought.
is in your soul. You can do this if you try.